Hello, here I am reporting live from my family's lake house in two twin-size beds. Jesse and I actually have the king, which is very lovely, but I don't mind two twins because I don't mind sleeping separate from my partner. Sometimes it's nice to have a little space, but background's different because I'm recording from my family's lake house and we are here for the next month. So the videos are gonna look a little bit different. Maybe you'll see like a tour around the lake house. And I can, as I record about sex in different rooms of my family's house. But first, let me give you some ASMR. Delicious. Okay, today we are talking about how to deal with a smelly vagina. And I want to preface this by saying your vagina probably smells normal. Vaginas on their best day smell a little musky, smell like a small barn animal or like a wet dog. And that's totally okay and normal. It is like a sweaty area that we're dealing with that's, got a lot of crevices. It's not gonna smell like flowers, even though it looks like a flower. So be confident in your scent. There's only a few things scent-wise you need to worry about. One is if it smells fishy, that could be an infection. And there's some other things too that I'll get into of why it might smell bad and how to make it smell normal again. But like what your normal scent is, your everyday scent is good. So don't try to like alter that. This is more for if it's starting to smell unusual, because we need to be empowered by our sense and know like, hey, things are a-okay down there for the most part. So first, cause of concern scent-wise is fishiness. Fishiness usually indicates that you have bacterial vaginosis, BV, which is when your pH gets off and you get a bacteria in your vagina and your microbiome gets off. And so it is important to treat bacterial vaginosis. Doctors treat it with either metronidazole antibiotics orally or suppository wise. And so I always recommend the suppository because it has way less side effects. The antibiotic oral is one of the ones that like really messes with you. I know a lot of people that get shaky on it. I myself would get shaky, would feel like I was going to throw up a lot. And another part of it is you can't drink when you're on the oral antibiotic. And I know they say that about a lot of antibiotics and people are like, oh, whatever, it's a Z-Back, I'll drink anyway. But like this one, you actually cannot drink on, you will die. And so like when I was having my chronic BV infections, when I had 11 in 1 year, I started switching to the suppository because I had so many weddings that year too. And I was like, well, I want to be able to drink at these weddings. So I'm not going to take the oral antibiotic. And yes, I'll be dripping some stuff out of my vagina, some suppository out of my vagina at the wedding, into my underwear, but that's okay because I am a little drunk. So I'm not even really caring right now. So one, if you have BV, get tested for it. If you have fishy smell, get tested for it. Get treated with the antibiotic that your doctor wants you to get treated with. And then from there, we do more prevention tactics to make sure the BV does not reoccur, because 60% of the time it does reoccur. And so we just want to like nip it in the butt if we can and make sure you have that fishy smell as little as possible in the annoying BV symptoms as little as possible, like the itching. I literally feel like I have like ants in my pants when I have BV. I'm like itching and like nothing I'm doing can like stop me from wanting to like reach down there and scratch. So to prevent BV and thus the fishy smell overall, we can use boric acid suppositories. If you get BV often, you might notice that it coincides with a trigger. For some people, the trigger can be their partner coming in them, because the pH of semen is different than the pH of our vaginas, so that can throw it off. Another trigger can be like sweating and hanging around in your sweaty clothes, hanging around in a wet swimsuit, going swimming in a lake where I'm at, or mine was my period, because our period blood, such a fun design the vagina is a different pH than our vagina is. So that can also throw things off. So my period is my trigger. So when I get my period, for 3 days afterwards, I use the boric acid suppositories, and this just helps keep things in check doesn't give my microbiome the opportunity to build up that bad bacteria. And so if I was going to swing to having a BV infection, it just like stops it in its tracks. And then I also use the boric acid suppositories once a week as maintenance, just to make sure things are like smelling great and good, because if you're on the verge of a BV infection, you could start to get fishy, and this just takes the vagina back to whatever your normal scent is. So sometimes even if like I didn't just get my period, or it's not the one time of maintenance for the week, but I start to smell like a little off, I'll be like, oh, time to put the boric acid suppository in, because I could be veering towards a BV infection, and then that just helps me get back to baseline. I use Boric Life boric acid suppositories that are just on Amazon. I can link it below. And I was recommended to use it by 2 different gynos. And so I feel like comfortable recommending it to other people. And also it has changed my life. I had 11 BV infections in 1 year. Finally, I got treated with the metroxydenol suppository, but then after that, I just kept going with the boric acid suppositories for 14 days in a row, and then kept doing my, different prevention techniques, and it hasn't come back, knock on whatever. So just make sure that, yeah, if you're susceptible, you have a plan to attack it, which there's more things we can do also in our like resume or our repertoire of vaginal health that will also prevent BV, but that is just one of them. So along with the boric acid suppository, I also take a probiotic every single day, because lactic acid strains can weed out the bad bacteria in your microbiome and just make sure it's a place where only good bacteria can grow. So the 3 probiotics I recommend that have the exact 7 lactic acid strands you need are Renew Life, Femdophilus, and Happy V. I just buy whichever one's cheaper that month. And whatever's having like a deal or a sale. Happy V, I have like a, what's it called? A code for it's Happy Vibe if you ever want to get your probiotic there, which makes it 15% off. But I honestly like cycle through all of them, just depending on like what's cheapest. And what I can afford that month, because I'm a girl on a budget. So probiotics will help prevent BV infections, but it will also help prevent UTI infections and help prevent, why can't I think the word, yeast infections, because it just makes your microbiome stronger and like balances the pH and makes it harder for bacteria to grow. So everything's going to be better when you are taking a probiotic. And also boric acid suppositories do the same for BV that they do for yeast. So they are also, if you have chronic yeast infections, boric acid suppositories can also be really good for that. But yeast infections don't usually cause the kind of aggressive smell that BV does, but sometimes you get an alter in your smell because of yeast infection. And if you do have a BV infection or a yeast infection, make sure your partner is treated. Hopefully you don't have to fight your doctor for it. I have in the past, but it has just been recognized that BV infections can be passed back and forth from partner to partner. And so it's good to just like go ahead, nip it in the butt, treat your partner for it, treat you for it. You guys don't have sex while you're being treated for it, because if you are having sex before the treatment's done, you could just pass it back and forth. So wait that week or so to have sex, and then once you're both treated, you can do it again, you can fuck like bunnies, and you can make sure you're free of BV, and that will stop you guys from hopefully giving it to each other in the future and stop any chronic BV or yeast infections. And another reason your vulva could be smelling is just general sweatiness. I mean, it is an enclosed area. There's crevices that get moisture in them. We sweat throughout the day, especially if you're living in the humid ass weather like I am right now in Indiana. And so what you do in that case is make sure you go commando as much as possible. Make sure you let your vagina, your vulva breathe as much as possible. Make sure you're wearing cotton underwear that's like not, causing too much like stickiness down there. And just, I would recommend honestly like going commando at night. If you wear like shorts at night, just don't wear underwear under the shorts. Let your vagina and vulva breathe as much as possible. And it's going to help you not like trap that sweatiness down there. And whatever you do, I swear to God, do not use scented products on your vagina. Never use like deodorant sprays. Oh my God, that's the worst thing you can do. The chemicals in anything scented can cause an infection. And so it's counterintuitive. You'll be like, oh, I'm making my vagina smell like strawberries or whatever the deodorant spray smells like. But actually, you're making it smell like fish because the infection you cause is going to be BV or yeast infection. So then it will smell like beer. But so never put anything scented down there. It's so bad for you. No scented soap, no nothing like that. It's just going to cause it to smell worse. So that's counterintuitive, but that's the truth. And then what we want to do there, the vagina is self-cleaning, so we never want to clean in the vagina, but we can clean on the vulva, on the outer lips, on the like mons pubis. We can use unscented soap. I use unscented Dove soap and just like lightly scrub some soap on, and then like the inner lips and any of that other stuff that's close to like the vagina entrance, I just purely use water on because my vagina is self-cleaning, and soap, if it gets in there, it can irritate it, and then again, as you guessed it, cause an infection because for some reason we are so fragile down there. I don't know, this is like a design error that our like butt that causes like, you know, we sometimes have E. coli out of our butt, is so close to our vagina and so close to our urethra. It seems like things are too close down there. And so yeah, just do not use anything scented. Some other infections that could cause a difference in smell down there is if you have a yeast infection that can cause it to smell like bready or like beer almost, but it doesn't smell all the time with a yeast infection. Sometimes yeast infections are scentless, but it just, if that's the smell you're worried about down there, then look into if you have a yeast infection. And then trick, which is another TRICH, which is just another thing like BV, basically another infection, can sometimes smell like onions. So if you're smelling anything oniony, go to the doctor and get that checked out and then get treated for it. But outside of that, any scent you smell, outside of fish, bread, onions, any scent you smell is normal. The only other thing I would just take pause at is if, you know, your period smells metallic, that's normal because blood smells metallic. But if the metallic is veering on fishiness, it could be that your period blood is like causing, you know, the pH to be off and is the start of a BV infection. So just pay attention to beer smells, yeast smells, fish smells, onion smells, and then when you're on your period, metallic smell, normal, but just like be wary of if it's starting to veer on like death or on more fishiness. So outside of that, however your vagina smells is great. Be confident in it. Know that it's not gonna smell like flowers. It's gonna smell a little like sweet but earthy, maybe a little musky, a little musty, a little bit like a farm animal, a little bit like a wet dog, and just embrace it and know that anyone is lucky to go near it.